Hello, Michael Ford here, member of the Oshkosh City Council. I'm checking in today because it's been a difficult couple of weeks here in Oshkosh and across the country. Um, I've been doing my best to listen. I've gone down to both of the rallies at the Sundial, spoken with people, speaking to people throughout the community, and really just trying to answer questions the best I can, and yeah, listen. Some of the things I'm hearing, I've heard people complain that this is really about out of town agitators coming to Oshkosh to stir things up. Um, I'm hearing statements that, or hearing that statements from public officials and statements from the school district are either tone deaf or aren't going far enough in in recognizing the problems, both here in Oshkosh and beyond. I've heard people say that these protests are all just a distraction, and people just out there to cause trouble. I've heard a lot of people be defensive about work that has been done in the past on the issue of racial equity, and being hurt that some of their efforts are not being recognized. I've heard a lot of people asking what the city response is. So again, I'm just speaking here for myself as an elected official. I don't right. I work for the citizens. I think you have a right to know where I am at. I think that racism, racial injustice, is something that does exist in people's hearts. It's something that I personally can do my best as a father, as a professor, and as a friend to be a good example. But I know that that's not going to solve the problem of racism. I do know that racism, racial inequities, also exist within systems like government. And any solution to a systemic problem or any progress on a systemic problem is going to require a systemic response. Now, I'm not the best messenger on these things. I'm self-aware enough to know that I've never experienced systemic racism. I'm self-aware enough to know that I will never fully understand, or perhaps even be able to articulate systemic racial inequities. But I am also perceptive enough to see them when they exist, and to understand that they're there, and to understand that this is not a distraction. This is not something that's coming from the outside that we can just kind of wait out or ignore or not pay attention to, because it matters. I believe that social equity, so fairness in the delivery of services, is a core operational value in government. Just like efficiency and effectiveness, equity has to be right there. Why? Because a government that doesn't work for any one identifiable subpopulation is a government that's not working. So we can do better. Now, my goal here is never, and it's not, to minimize the work of previous, whether it's council members, previous members, or people that work for the city. It's not to invalidate that work, certainly not to question anybody's intentions, and certainly not to say that we have not made progress as a city, as a society. But I do want to share with all of you my commitment in my little position where I can have hopefully some type of influence in local government, that I am committed to finding systemic solutions to a systemic problem. And that really goes back to one of my campaign goals, one of my campaign promises, which was to weave equity and inclusion into the very fabric of our government. What that means is that it can't just be one committee, one nonprofit organization, one rally, one effort, one person, what have you. That is not enough to actually address a systemic problem. Doesn't mean they're not good things. They're all good things, but it's not enough to address a systemic problem. So my hope in the coming weeks, coming months, is to continue this conversation and propose some very specific specific ideas for us to weave social equity, racial equity, and inclusion into the fabric of our government. And this includes creating mechanisms by which we can measure, we can track, and most importantly, we can be held accountable as elected officials for progress towards meeting these goals. Ensuring that this is not a distraction, because this isn't a distraction. A government that works for everybody, us delivering on that promise that every single individual owns a share in their government, that idea requires that we bake these things right in to our government, into our day-to-day operations. If we do that successfully, we will have a government that is more effective, more efficient, and just more representative, and something that works better for all of us. So that is my pledge to you as an elected official here in Oshkosh. I urge everybody to stay safe, stay peaceful, stay passionate, and mostly stay humble. There's nothing more disarming in my experience than people in positions of power being able to say that yeah, maybe what I did wasn't enough, or maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe I need to change, maybe I don't have all of the answers. I can tell you for one thing, I'm sure as heck sure I don't. But I do know that we can create a framework for social equity, for racial inclusion in this city that can give us the possibility of moving forward. And that's what I hope to do. So with that, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I'm really looking forward to a productive, respectful, and productive and respectful city council meeting on Tuesday night. Thank you.